is crazy close. This Milwaukee-Miami game, 1:53 left in the game. And it's a 2-point game with Milwaukee up over Miami, but Miami's been making a hell of a game of this. So that's really exciting. Toronto did just score. They made it 4-2. There's 8:45 left in the third period, so we're watching that hockey game as well. As we bring in Arun, how are you doing tonight, Arun?
Not bad. I'm a little behind you in the basketball game, but I'm good, like just 10 seconds behind.
Okay, that's fair. I will try not to spoil too much. But yeah, it's been a really dynamic game. And I've been impressed by Butler's ability to sort of show up, and he well, not to ruin it for Arun, but he draws a foul here, and he'll be shooting two. And it cuts it to a 1-point game with 1:42 left in the fourth quarter. I wanted to thank PZ Hero 77 Houndoom for joining us. He's like, then I find you as soon as the XFL talk ends, and I apologize for that. But if anybody wants to go back to the XFL talk, we always keep all of our VODs up, and I also highlight all of these videos as well. So I will make sure the XFL gets its own video, and then I'll do a video about this NBA segment as well. And then we'll also get one for the Nats and the NHL talk at the end of that. So we're going to keep it here for this end of this fourth quarter. We're going to kind of analyze this one, and then we'll break down the other playoff matchups. But while we're doing this, we did briefly talk about this Philly Brooklyn matchup. What were some of your thoughts on the easy win in some regards for that?
Yeah, I think game 3 was kind of the closest game that I saw, and basically Embiid almost got ejected. Like, Charles Barkley is pointing out that you don't get kicked out of a game for if you hit somebody in the chest, it's okay, but he kicked him in the almost kicked him in the groin. Oh wow, that was a crazy shot. And Spencer Dinwiddie was kind of went crazy. Like, I was trying to take an isolation shot over Joel Embiid, and Embiid blocked it. Harden got ejected from that game. I think that was more incidental contact, just boxing, like trying to create contact, but he punched, accidentally got one of the Brooklyn Nets players in the groin, and then Claxton for the Nets was ejected. And then I think the series was pretty much over. It was 3-0. And the Nets, after they made all those trades, um, they traded Kyrie, they traded Kevin Durant. I thought in the short term they probably could have held on to Kevin Durant, given that he was under contract for a couple more seasons. And Kyrie Irving's not really a big difference maker, but they chose to go a different way, and they'll probably be rebuilding in the short term, even though they have a lot of talented young players like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. I don't think they're really going to make any noise. We'll see. And especially Spencer Dinwiddie not really playing. He thinks he's better than he is. He's gotten in deep with Kyle Kuzma, but it's not just Wizards fans that are upset with him. Dallas Mavericks fans are upset with him. And I think even Nets fans, the way that he kind of doesn't really defer to other players on his team. Even though he had 17 points per game in the playoff series, he kind of bit off more than he can chew. And the Nets, they don't even have the draft picks. Ben Simmons, he's MIA still, and they're probably not going to be a playoff team next season.
Yeah, so Butler's going off in this game. He's now scored 51 points, and including making the last 2, 5, 6, 7 points,
Yeah,
I think,
he
in the
was
game.
crazy. That was like,
and he was he's going nuts. 58 seconds left here. And Milwaukee's inbounding down 3. But it's been a really exciting matchup. Talk a little bit about this series though with the Heat and oh wow, the Heat just stole the ball. 50 seconds left. They drive to the basket and they miss it, but they foul him, and so Butler will go to the line to shoot 2 with 47.6 seconds. I think they should have just backed off there. Maybe, I don't know. They were only down 3. But Butler was smart to sort of take it to the rim. But overall, I know that we've had some injuries on the Milwaukee side, but are you surprised that the Heat are up 2-1 in this series?
Not really, given that Giannis missed the last couple of games, and even this game, I was like, oh, the Heat are down by like 11 points in the fourth quarter. But we saw last year that crazy comeback they had against the Celtics, and they were a jump shot away from beating um, Boston in Game 7. So I was just tuning in. I feel like whoever was going to win this game would be the favorite to go on, especially Milwaukee once they regain home court. But a collapse like this, if Miami ends up holding on to win, is huge. They're without Tyler Hero, so even I think if Giannis was back, maybe the Bucks would be favored. But right now, Miami holds on to win this game. They only need to win one more game. Given that Giannis missed 3 games, and really no excuses for the Bucks. They were up double digits. I don't really think they were getting Giannis involved in the game. They were doing a little bit too much isolation ball with Drew Holiday, and they were getting some good matchups with Brook Lopez, seeing in the fourth quarter. But overall, Miami's defense kind of stepped up to the plate. Jimmy Butler has been the best player in this game. I think he's gonna have 49, well, 52 points. He's like probably 53 if he makes this free throw. And um, yeah, Milwaukee's defense didn't step up even though Giannis is back. And I think they've been stuck on like 107 in that area for like five minutes. Their offense is kind of like slowed down. It's pretty bad offense in Miami, and I can sympathize as a Wizards fan. Like as Giannis misses a layup, and looks like Miami's going to win this game, and Milwaukee's going to need probably a 3-1 comeback, unless like Miami manages to choke away this game.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he makes the first free throw to go up 115 to 109. So I think that may have salted this game away. Scoring update in the hockey, though. Austin Matthews is going off at 9:44 in the third. He scores a wrist shot, and at 12:29 in the third, he is a tip-in on a power play goal, and he cuts it to a 1-goal differential. There's 5.5 minutes left here in the third. So Toronto has made a game of it here late in the third. So we'll be watching that. But Butler is just going off, and it's been an exciting game for sure here. Let's just go through the other series real fast in the bracket. So we've already talked about the 1-8. So the 5-4, New York is up 3-1 in their series over Cleveland. What are some of your thoughts on that series?
Yeah, surprisingly, Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart have both been the best players for the Knicks. I didn't actually see that. Like, I'm a Villanova fan, but um, Julius Randle has been like an all NBA caliber player, but he's coming off an injury, and he actually didn't play in the fourth quarter. RJ Barrett, he was kind of a dud the first 2 games, but the last game, he just got to the rim, and um, it's weird. Like there's like a balance. Like either one player has to be a bust for the Knicks, and I guess it's Julius Randle right now. Like they can't have like everybody firing on all cylinders. Their bench is playing really well. The Cavs, it's interesting. Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, they faced off in the playoffs last year, both with different teams. Brunson ended up beating Mitchell. It was kind of predictable. I don't know why people thought Jalen Brunson was going to get overpaid last season, even though he got 100 like million. Like players like Beal got like 40 to 45 million, and Brunson he performed pretty well in the playoffs. He had like 28 points per game with Luka Doncic out. Donovan Mitchell's a hell of a player, but I think the Knicks are just a deeper team. The Cavs have to trade away a bunch of players even um, to get Donovan Mitchell, and for some reason they waived Kevin Love, who's actually on the Miami Heat right now. They could actually have used Kevin Love because their front court depth, even though Allen and Mobley are great players, if one of them are in foul trouble, they kind of suffer. And I think the Knicks. I was actually talking about this with Tim. Like this series could go either way, but now that the Knicks defended their home court, I think they're probably the favorites to win this series, and I don't really foresee them blowing a 3-1 series lead, even though this NBA Plus anything can happen. feel like the Knicks with Brunson leadership and Josh Hart, Hart's been incredible. Anybody could have had him at the trade deadline pretty much, and the Knicks had gave up a first round pick, but they had multiple first round picks from the Porzingis trade. And last year's draft, they actually didn't draft Johnny Davis. They got 3 first round picks instead of taking Johnny Davis. So the Knicks look like they might make a deep run if they hold on to win. They could play Miami potentially. That'll be pretty epic. If Miami manages to hold on to a 3-1 series lead, although I'm not ruling this series, I don't think is over. Milwaukee, Miami, even though they're down 3-1, the Bucks are champions from a couple of years ago. But that'll be pretty. Either way, they'll be. I think the Knicks have a chance even against Milwaukee or Miami.
Yeah. One other scoring update. The Jets just got a power play goal over the Golden Knights. So they scored the first goal in that game. They're now up 1-0. I'm rooting for the Jets because I don't particularly like the Golden Knights. But I have some friends that live in Winnipeg, so I thought that'd be kind of fun. This game here, this Tampa Bay Lightning Toronto game, it's still a 1-goal lead. Tampa Bay is still up by 1 with 4 minutes left in the period here. This NBA playoff game is almost over. It's 116-109 with 19.3 seconds left in that. So we also will have an upcoming game between the Lakers and the Grizzlies, which is exciting. And just like that, Toronto scores a goal, and the place is going nuts out in Toronto.
Yeah, it was 4-1 earlier.
Yeah, it was. And they've scored 3 unanswered goals here in the third. Vasilevsky gets screened here. And it's a nice, I think it's tipped, or maybe it's just a great shot from the point. Riley goes in. Riley was one of the big saviors for them in the last game. And sure enough, it's just a seeing eye puck. Great screen by Tavares up front. I don't think he touches it, but I'm not sure. But either way, it's a goal. And 4 minutes left in the game, just under 4 minutes. It's a tie. It's a tie 4-4 game. So they've scored 3 goals in the last 6 minutes and 20 seconds here to tie it up. Milwaukee is at the free throw line, and they make the second one. It's now a 5-point game with 20.6 seconds, so it's not over. But it's still looking like Miami is going to win. Some great ball movement by Miami to get some time off the clock. Then they get obviously to Butler, who they want to pad his stats. Why not? He's been a great player all night. So 15.8 seconds, and Butler's going to the line to shoot 2. Let's talk about some of these other series in the bracket. So we've gone through almost all of them. The last one is Boston Atlanta in the East. That series continues tomorrow at 7:30. Boston is up 3-1 over Atlanta in that series. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, Atlanta kind of gave its best at home, but I think just Boston is overall a much better team. And even if Atlanta had managed to win Game 4, I don't really think Atlanta had what it took to win on the road. The Hawks did play better than they thought they would at home. Like, even though they lost by a pretty significant margin, like, they did keep it close. But I think Marcus Smart, he had an incredible 3-point shot to close the half. I think it was like a 4-point play. And Jaylen Brown was great. Jason Tatum, he was great in the first quarter. Didn't really do much for the rest of the game. But I think Atlanta, they just don't have enough weapons. Like, Bogdanovich is fine. Capello's a good big man, but Collins can't hit threes, and DeAndre Hunter from UVA, he's kind of not. You forget that he's even out there. Sometimes he's kind of invisible for somebody's making, I think, like $15 to $20 million a year. So even though Trae Young is he's kind of doing his thing, he's not the most efficient scorer, but he definitely needs more help. And Boston just has a lot more talent. Like, even off the bench, Malcolm Brogdon, 6th man of the year, and the Celtics look like they're the favorites to come out of the East if Milwaukee ends up losing to Miami.
Yeah. So Brook Lopez did make a 22-foot 3-pointer but Jimmy Butler is at the line. It's still up by 5, and this will kind of seal the deal if they can make it. Oh, he misses it though. There's 6 seconds left. Giannis is trying to go up the court. He gets stripped of the ball. The game is over. And I believe Jimmy Butler just had a career high. So not a playoff career high, but a career high 56 points. And it's a record, I believe, for any Heat player in the playoff history. So he made
Yeah, that's correct. That is his career.
yeah, so 15 of 18 free throws, 3 for 8 from 3, 19 for 28 field goal percentage, played 40 minutes, had 9 rebounds to go along with that. And so even though Giannis had a triple double, it was not enough. And the Heat win this game, which I think is huge. Because I kind of thought they were going to lose this one with Giannis coming back, and then it was going to be a tied series. But to go up 3-1, I mean, definitely, I don't think it's over. I think Milwaukee will win game 5, but can Milwaukee win 3 in a row? It's going to be tough for sure. Any final thoughts on this game?
Yeah, like Milwaukee had it, like they had this game won. They're up by double digits with like 6 minutes to go. But I just think Milwaukee kind of played out the clock a bit, and they didn't really get Giannis involved. And I don't know, their offense kind of broke down. Milton also kind of absent. Holiday did hit a huge three, but yeah, lots of turnovers, and Miami finally knocked down some shots. I don't know if they can get this kind of game from Jimmy Butler every time, but they just need one to win one game out of 3. So this series is definitely not over, but looking much better for Miami 3-1 than 2-2. If it was 2-2, I was going to pretty much write off Miami, but Miami, I think, is the favorites. They just need to win one game, but can't eliminate the Bucks either.
Yeah, for sure. So they just to show the stat, it's the 4th highest scoring output in NBA playoff history of any team, any player. So impressive for sure. The game is still tied 4-4 with 140 left in the 3rd period here in this Toronto Tampa Bay game. Vegas has tied the game now with just about 10 minutes left in the 1st period. It's 1-1 on that in that game. So ESPN and TBS and TNT have all the games tonight. There's a lot of exciting games going on. Memphis is up to a very quick start. They're up 6-0 over the Lakers in LA. LA leads the series 2-1. We'll talk about this series in just a moment. But before we get to that one, I do want to talk about some of these other series. We're going to start off with the Denver series against Minnesota. It's definitely was a surprise. I thought it was going to be a sweep. I'll put it that way. I thought Denver was going to sweep them, but the Timberwolves had a really good overtime period in this 4th game, and they really were scrappy and they held on to get one. Do you think this is just the anomaly and Denver wins the next one and it's over, or what were some of your thoughts about this series in general and then the overtime win for the Timberwolves?
Yeah, the Timberwolves are like surprisingly they can put together good efforts. Last year they were up every single game that they lost against Memphis. They were up by double digits and they blew a 4th-quarter lead. In this game, they did blow a huge lead to the Nuggets. I think they're up by like 12 points, 96-84, with like 2 minutes left. And then I was watching my DVR, and then all of a sudden, I was like, fast forward, oh, this game's over. Then they say like the Nuggets knocked down like 4 threes in a row or something by the game. So if the Timberwolves can fix their problem of blowing big leads, maybe they have a chance. But I don't know. I don't really see it happening. And like you can't fix that overnight. And plus, they have to win at Denver twice against the Nuggets. Are I think a much better team. Not much. They're better than the Grizzlies were last year. It's the number 1 seed. I think they'll probably win in Game 5.
Your quick thoughts on this Phoenix Clippers series that'll continue tomorrow at 10 p.m. Phoenix leads it 3-1 over the Clippers.
Yeah, the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard, they're kind of putting together a good effort. Russell Westbrook looks like a really good player again. I think his demise was over exaggerated even by me myself. Like I didn't think he was going to be like as good as even he was with the Wizards. He's been a little bit better. Just that there's no Kawhi Leonard, there's no Paul George. Um, the Clippers are one of the deepest teams in the league, given that Ballmer um, just pays everyone, and they had just dusted off Marcus Morris, a 50 million 5-year player, like just who wasn't even in the rotation. He's a quality player. He'd be playing for the Wizards, uh, but it just feels like with Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Booker and Ayton, even though their bench is terrible and that presents problems for the Suns, it just feels like the Clippers. I think if Kawhi was healthy, I actually think the Clippers could have won this series even before Russell Westbrook turned back into 2017 Russell Westbrook. But without Kawhi, without Paul George, I think the Suns will win. I'm not sure how much further they'll get, but Suns looking like the favorites here.
Yeah, and game is going to overtime in that Lightning Maple Leafs game, so that'll be interesting. So we'll be monitoring that once they comes back from their 17-minute intermission. So we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to the Golden State Warriors versus the Sacramento Kings. Carol was talking a little bit about this series. Before we started, it's 2-2 tied, and that will continue on Wednesday at 10 p.m. What are your thoughts on this tied series?
Yeah, I felt the series could go either way, but now it just reported that De'Aaron Fox suffered a hand injury and he's doubtful for Game 5. So I think that shifts the series to Golden State's advantage. Fox has pretty much been matching Curry's points per game. Curry is creating more for his teammates and with the spacing and whatnot, but Fox, if they're without him, he's the Kings' best player unless Sabonis steps up to the plate. This series was really close. Game 2, the Warriors missed a potential game winner at the buzzer. Game 4, the Kings missed a potential game winner at the buzzer. And Harrison Barnes is a former member of the Warriors team that won the title in 2015 and lost to the Cavs in 7 games. So he had the opportunity to have the Kings up 3-1, and he wasn't able to get it done. Just like kind of like in the 2016 finals, he was like 3 for 35 in games 5 through 7. But he'll probably bounce back. He seems to be more mentally tough. But if they don't have Fox, the Warriors' chances just increased a lot. Even though they'll still have to win on the road, they'll have to at least win one time out of 2 in Sacramento to win this series. The Warriors have been one of the worst road teams in the NBA, but I think Curry and Thompson should probably be able to get it done at least one time. They did almost beat the Kings in Game 2, and that was with Draymond. Game 1, Draymond was suspended and got kicked out of that one game. So I think the Warriors should probably move on here.
Yeah, Austin Reeves just made a big shot to cut it to 10-9 now in a very close game to start here with the Lakers, and so I'm gonna put that game up on the scoreboard over here. So let's talk about this series because it's just been kind of interesting. There's been a lot of talk about poking the bear and how you shouldn't do that. The Grizzlies, were basically taunting the Lakers and LeBron to do something, and LeBron comes back and they have a monstrous first quarter in that last game, and they ultimately take a 2-1 series lead because of that game. Arun, what are some of your thoughts about quote unquote poking the bear? And do you now think the Lakers are the favorite team in this series, or do you think the Grizzlies can find a way?
Yeah, actually, I think the Lakers are the favorites. Things can obviously change. I actually was watching the Lightning Lightning game over the Lakers Grizzlies game because I think the Lakers aren't the favorites, even if they manage to lose this game. But yeah, the Dylan Brooks trash talk was really kind of dumb. it wasn't even that like compelling trash talk. Like Deshaun Stevenson, I felt like trash talk LeBron better, and he actually kind of backed it up a little bit. And the Wizards were underdogs, and that's massive underdogs in that series. Whereas the Grizzlies, you could arguably come up with a case that they should win this series, especially um, with Ja Morant back in the lineup. But I think LeBron, you don't really got this version of LeBron is actually this now he's won 4 rings since the Deshaun Stevenson era, and like it's just like Dylan Brooks kind of is drawing attention to himself. Like he did hit LeBron in the he got ejected, and
Yeah.
I don't it kind of drew attention to himself with that trash talk. It wasn't even that good. It's more like he's trying to play the heel and like a WWE wrestling
Yeah, I
match.
kind of got WWE vibes too. That's kind of funny that you say that. It's a shame that Champ's not on it anymore, but I know that he's in chat. But it's yeah, I don't know. I think it was kind of a dumb move because and now LeBron is even more motivated, right, than he was before, and to prove that he's not too old for this. And a motivated LeBron James is probably not what you want if you're a Grizzlies fan. And it's been a close game so far here, 10-9. Obviously, the Grizzlies are up, but I still think it's going to be interesting to see how they do going forward. Yeah, I don't know. They're showing Ja Morant and how they had to like bandage up his hand there. He had 45 points in game 3. He's gonna have to be a hero again in in this one for sure. Any other
Yeah, and
thoughts?
also like he did have 45, but like the first quarter, the Grizzlies only had 9 points total, so it's like it's different like having 45 and like when you're down like huge amount of points. So I'll see. Like he's a great player, but it's definitely like I feel like it should be taken with a little bit of grain of salt. Like if he puts a 45 in a close game, that'll be like 5 times better.
Yeah, champ like that. That WWE reference. I'll say the Colorado Seattle game is now starting. And so obviously it's 0-0. In this one, Colorado leads the series 2-1. And Seattle played a really good first home game. And they had not played a home game in like 100 years or something. And in the playoffs that is. And they were down big, then they scored 2 to make it a game, but then Colorado just does what they do, a quote unquote avalanche of goals, and they ended up winning pretty big in that game. And it'll be interesting to see which game that they put on TNT and which one game that they're going to put on True TV here, or sorry, TBS. It's funny because Turner has everything tonight. Now they're gonna have 3 games going: TNT, TBS, and on True. It's almost like watching March Madness over there. They've
They
got
need like the split screen going for all the hockey and basketball games, to be honest with
yeah, I
you.
know. I'm happy that I've got 3 screens in my man cave because it's starting to add up pretty quickly here. But I think we've gone through all of the different series. Any final thoughts, Arun, before I bring CP3 back on the NBA playoffs as it stands? I know next week we might not do a full analysis because it's going to be our 2-year affiliate stream live on Twitch. And so we're going to be doing art for the first hour, and then we're going to talk about the defenders for the second hour, and then we'll briefly talk about the NHL and the NBA playoffs, as well as a little bit of an Nats update. But it'll be abbreviated podcast next week. But we'll definitely have you back on in 2 weeks if we don't have you on next week to talk about the next round of the series. But do you think anything's going to drastically change in the next week, or do you think that a lot of these series will go as they have so far?
Just like maybe Milwaukee, Miami can change. But right now, I think the Warriors are going to win with Fox out. Clippers are going to lose to the Suns. And this series, I guess this series is kind of up for grabs. Lakers, Grizzlies, but I think the Lakers right now are the favorites, especially even though Ja had a great outing in game 3 with 45 points. I feel like the Lakers are kind of stepping into gear, but they could easily let the Grizzlies back into this one. It'd be important for the Lakers to get a 3-1 series lead. Uh, Also interesting that Rui's like averaging 20 points per game with the Lakers. I just think the Lakers had a little bit more talent, and the Grizzlies are more so just really bad. With their depth is bad with Clark and Adams out, so they don't really enough guys. I think Rui's still really good, but kind of want to see him do it also against in the next round as well. But if he can do that, then I think the Wizards will get it. But definitely be interesting to see. And speaking of the Wizards, Tommy Shepard fired. Um, Kind of want to see what Ted Leonsis. I feel like he needs to give like an interview, like what the Wizards are thinking. Are they going to hire the Golden State Warriors general manager Bob Myers? Are they going to get Tim Connolly, who made a pretty bad trade with the Timberwolves, but from the Wizards? The Wizards reportedly offered him the highest paid salary before, and he's reported to go to an Eastern Conference team if a job became he wanted a job at an Eastern Conference team that became available. And that was before Tommy Shepard got fired. Um, Also, there's talk about that Leonsis want to trade Bradley Beal, so it's kind of I feel like that's only a rumor now, but it'd be pretty good for Leonsis. Just got out and did an interview with like the Washington Post and probably just like put some rumors to rest. But hopefully it'd be interesting what the Wizards are going to do going forward. I don't think, even though they missed the playoffs, I feel like there's a lot of parity in the NBA. So like a good draft pick could put them back in the playoff race or another good trade. But definitely important they pick up good general manager. Tommy Shepard wasn't exactly bad. He made some good trades like for Porzingis, but the draft picks, even though they're still the jury's out on a lot of them, like Benny and Kispert. Kispert's actually been good. Even Johnny Davis closed the season out well. They just haven't hit yet, and I can definitely understand why the Wizards are moving on from Shepard. You want to get somebody who nails the draft picks, and that's going to be the best avenue for the Wizards to improve the team going forward.
One last question. Are you happy with the move that we kept our coach, or do you think he should have gone too?
I think for now, it's better to keep the coach so the new general manager can decide who the coach is going to be. And um, it's a little bit of a bad time to get rid of the coach and the GM, given that somebody has to like potentially draft the team. Unseld, I feel like in some ways has been better than Brooks, but in other ways he's been worse. Like the defense, I feel like it's gotten better with Unseld, but like some things with Bradley Beal, like Beal was a 30-point per game scorer before Wes Unseld joined, and now he's like only, even though he's really efficient, he's only a 23-point per game scorer. There have been some rule changes that may be part of that, but there are less free throws for Beal. But the pace has improved, so I feel like Beal should be having more points. Is that on Beal for not being healthy? But it's also like Beal has had like huge like 30-point games, but he's also put up like 10 or 12-point games. I think people are pretty angry at the Wizards for using the injury excuse because lots of teams have injuries. But I do see the logic that they only had 36 games together, Porzingis, Beal, and Kuzma. And even when they were healthy, it's like they're coming off of injuries. So maybe some cohesion could work going into next season. But I feel like Unseld, this is probably, if he doesn't really get much done, I think he should be on the hot seat. And some fans think he won't even be on the team if it wasn't for his last name. So fair or not, this might be like Unseld's last season.
Yeah, I feel like this is basically his last shot at it, and then it gives the new GM an opportunity to potentially pick his own coach. I will say that the Kraken just scored a goal on a beautiful shot from, as Carol would call it, the Ovi's office. So they take a 1-0 lead over the Avalanche in their game. So that's exciting as well. But Arun, thank you as always for breaking down the NBA playoffs with us. And if we don't have you on next week, we'll definitely have you on the following week to do an update on how things are going. But I appreciate you helping us break it all down.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And also, probably won't talk about hockey, but I'll look forward to watching it as well.
Yeah, for sure. There's some exciting hockey games going on Indeed. So appreciate it as always. All right, CP3, we're gonna switch back to our baseball graphic. Let me see if I can do this correctly. And then does that look right? Yeah, it does. And I'm going to run and refresh my drink as you talk about the Nationals, because I didn't honestly watch any of the games, but I appreciate you for breaking them down, and I will be right back.
Well, you gotta give me a quick second, because once again I'm in transition, and for some reason my feed isn't matching up with the overlay with the new setup. Well, I guess I did all my graphics for no reason, because I can't get you. Let me see.
Would it be better to go to a single screen and just go to a U up for your view? You could always do that.
Let me see. That's what I said. I just took that one off. All right, let me see if I can bring this one up. Give me a quick second. Where is it at? All right, so bring that over.
Well, I guess you should make the 2 up anyway, because we're going to be talking hockey a little bit. So, but whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's killing me while it's doing this right now.
It's all good. I'll